Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers. And we're here today for another question and answer session. The reason we do these cloud computing career training question and answer sessions is so you know how to get your first cloud job, so you know how to get your first cloud architect job, you know how to get your first solution architect job, you know how to get your first enterprise architect job, and you know how to get your first cloud engineer job. And that's why we're here, because we know that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And we find in our experience that if we can get people the right guidance, the right information, and know exactly what to learn, it can shave years off of the amount of time it takes somebody to reach their career goals. So that's why we're here. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and I've been working in this tech industry for about 25 years now. I've been an architect at WorldCom, an architect at Cisco, and architected Comcast, and architected one of the major firms on Wall Street. You name it, I've been doing this cloud architect thing, network architect thing, and enterprise architect thing for 25 years. And I've spent more than 2 decades helping people get promoted in tech or get their first tech job. And I want to get you cloud hired. And that's why I do all these free sessions. And so, for example, this morning, I had brought in a CEO of a mortgage company, and I hope you saw that interview. And the reason I did that, brought in the CEO of someone that's using cloud-based technologies to, to reduce customer costs and borrowing costs for this reason. It's digital transformation. And that's what we cloud architects do, is digital transformation. And one of the most critical things for your cloud architect career is that you've got to be CXO relevant. You got to know how business people think, what goes into the decision-making practices, and what they're interested in hearing. So I know lots of CEOs, and I'll be bringing in lots of CEOs as part of our show, and that's why we did it, because I want all of you getting cloud hired. So, it's been a busy week. I know we're doing our, I know we've been doing our boot camp, and I want to tell you about some other things. So before we begin, let me tell you about some exciting things. If you want to get your first cloud architect job, if you want to get that first cloud engineer job, currently we are offering a 30% discount on everything until Sunday. Use coupon code potential. The reason we're doing this is as follows. I know inflation has taken a huge bite out of ordinary everyday people's finances. In the last 2 years, we've had almost 13% inflation. So we dropped our cost basically 15% to help you. Well, 30% off our main cost. And we did that just to help you because, if you get a great cloud job and your income's double or triple what it is now, you won't care about the inflation. You'll be able to take great care of your family. And that's what I want everybody to do. Have a great job, be able to take great care of their family, and be cloud hired and be cloud successful and just reach their full potential. And that's why until Sunday, you can use the coupon code potential for 30% off everything we're doing. Now, the cloud, let's face it, is nothing more than a network and a data center that's been virtualized. Yeah, there's people that are paid millions of dollars to come up with these crazy marketing names like Elastic Compute Cloud when they could just say virtual machine, or Compute Engine Instance when they could just say virtual machine. But the key is you need to know how the technology is and what it works. So we're here to try and demystify the cloud, because I want you all getting cloud hired, and because the cloud is nothing more than a network and a data center that's been virtualized. And people try to learn the cloud by learning how to configure things on the cloud, but they don't learn the network and the data center. They're completely unemployable. So we're going to help you. We're going to do a subnetting workshop next week, because that is critical to every cloud architect. And we're going to do a BGP workshop next week, and it should be about 4 hours, this BGP workshop. Same thing with the subnetting workshop, because I want you guys to get it. To put it into context, my CCIE number is 7417. It used to be an incredibly hard exam. It was a 2-day exam where everybody failed. They made the exam easy when they turned it into a 1-day exam. Not that it's silly easy, but it's still easy. But, for us hardcore network engineers from the beginning days, and I was one of them, our IP addressing scheme in BGP, I want you to get that level. I want you to be like a network architect, because the new cloud architect's like a network architect and the data center architect around it in one. So join us for the free BGP session. We'll give you an introduction to BGP. The subnetting session will be hugely helpful, and it's completely free. So sign up now. The link is in the description below and the chat box. Now, next Thursday, please join us for the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. People come from all over the world. Yesterday was a really great day. We had people in England, we had people in Greece, we had people in Africa, we had people in India, we had people in Pakistan, we had people in South America, all over Asia. The one we had yesterday, and it's great fun. And on this webinar, we will tell you the following. We'll make sure that you understand that cloud architect job in and out so you can get cloud hired. You'll know it in and out. You'll know exactly what the hiring manager wants. You'll know exactly what you need to have on your resume to get hired. You will make certain that we'll teach you how to skip HR so you don't get blocked by HR when you have no experience, and you can talk directly to the hiring manager where you can prove your competency if you have it and then get cloud hired. Because these are the kind of things that are really, really important for you to do. And we'll even teach you how to use your life experience, tell you everything you need to know, what certifications we'll do, which ones to help you get an interview, which ones will help you get the interview versus which ones will hurt you. So come join us, completely free. Register now. The link is in the description below and the chat box. Good morning, everyone. Ciao, good vibes. Yes, I totally believe that. Good vibes. Thank you for being here, ciao. Anthony Gonzalez, back-to-back teach successes. Mike, you're going to need a vacation. The interview this morning was incredible, by the way. Anthony, thank you so much on the interview. I think, Anthony, if you actually knew what was going on around you right now, you'd realize exactly how much I'm trying to stick it in there for everybody. I'm thrilled to see you, Anthony. Ashwini, good to see you this morning. Good morning, Hobbit King. Dylan Bell, one of my incredibly favorite 16-year-olds from around the world that's working on building his career. Love when I see young people fighting hard to build their career. Love it, love it, love it. 16-year-old constantly here while you're in high school trying to build yourself, Dylan. I'm so proud of you. Fantastic. Cloud Solutions Architect. What are the topics? Agendas covered in the live classes, recordings of live classes. We cover in our classes what it takes for you to become a cloud architect. And whether that is networking, data center, sales skills, emotional intelligence skills, executive presence skills, ROI modeling skills, leadership skills, sales skills, BGP, OSPF, what routers do, what switches do, what load balancers do, what IDS IPS systems, what firewalls do, how to architect these systems, how to interview for the jobs, how to negotiate a salary, and how to get hired. We teach everything that we possibly can inside of this 500-hour program. And that's why you can see people that have taken our program, Cloud Solution Architect. I brought you, for example, a 21-year-old that just turned 21 that has 0 degrees and in tech and 0 experience in tech, and he got hired. Just like I can also show you that we brought in Romanek Ivan Tamba, another person that was working as a waiter that got hired as a cloud architect. And of course, we have people like Pritapal Sejan. We show also a video of him on our channel, and he had a good degree of tech background. And you can see he also got an incredibly thing. So what's back in these classes? Everything that it takes to become a cloud architect. Everything. And a cloud architect designs, presents, and sells. So we have to put 500 hours into designing, presenting, and selling. So now you know what we do. Everything all in a single package. Really, good morning, everyone, and I'm so happy to see you here. Dylan Bell, you have planned it. You will go to college in the UK. Excellent. During which time you will apply to our program and even apply to cloud jobs. And who knows, they may be okay with paying your college fees. I think that's a great idea. I'm glad you said you're still going to go to college. Please do that. I mean, like I said, we've worked with plenty of people that don't have degrees, but I'd prefer you to get a degree now, Dylan, for the following reason. It'll increase your opportunities. And guess what? You're 16, maybe 17 now. And when you're in school, do all of our free training and then take our program too. I worked with this young man. His name is Mitchell. I won't go through his last name. He's a giant right now in the cloud security space. And I met him when he was about 15 years old. And during that time, I had just been injured. So I was sort of stuck around the house doing my 6 to 8 hours of physical therapy. And I coached him for a couple of years. By the time he was 24, he became a giant in the industry. I mean, and he's fantastic. So I love it. Start when you're there. And you know what? The reality is like one of our students, Ivan, who I had on our channel, he got hired while he was in our program before he finished his degree. Now, he asked them to wait for him to graduate college before he started his first day, but it's not uncommon for an employer to pay for things. Now, is it going to be easy to get you hired in the UK at 18 years old or 19 or 20? Not at all, Dylan. Not at all. But, and here's the but, if you get the right training and you work hard and you don't quit until you get to the results, you can do anything you want. You can do anything you want. And, I was told I'd never walk again. Now I don't run, and it may have taken me 8 years of physical therapy to be able to do it, but I can now walk up and down the stairs of my house. When I left medicine many years ago and told my peers, I'm going to work in tech and networking, they laughed at me. 6 months later, I was a senior engineer. 6 months later than that, not only was I a CIE, the lead architect, I decided to go to Wall Street and design the network for the what do you call it, the largest market maker on the NASDAQ. So the point is you can do it, you should do it, and we would be honored and delighted to work with you. And we would love that, love that, love that. But what I'm really excited about is that you decided to go to college and that you're going to do it in the UK. I think that's fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. And I'm really hoping, Dylan, 5 years from now, you're like one of my other 20-something-year-olds that I found when I was young and do everything. And I think you have it in you, from how hard you come and all these things, to just fight to win. And I know it in you. I can sense it in you by 16 years old in a number of these classes. I can usually see it in somebody's eyes. I don't know what you look like, but I can see the questions you're asking. They're smart questions. They're the right questions, and that's what makes me excited to see. When people have the right attitude, the right energy, and the right enthusiasm, that person is unstoppable. Now, who doesn't make it? I'm going to tell you right now, the people that worry if they're good enough. Because if they got 1,000 reasons why they can't be successful, they're never going to be successful. They're the people that are worried about everything, but someone like you, oh yeah. And I'm going to tell you this. I had my second MBA partially paid for. I had, I don't know, maybe $50,000 to $75,000 of leadership classes that were also paid for by my employer. I mean, I paid for a lot of my own, but they did a lot. So I'm going to tell you, I like that plan. I think that plan is a fantastic plan, and I'm so excited to hear it, see it, and see you here. 16 years old, just fantastic. You're ahead of your time in terms of your thinking. And if you guys have questions, please pop them in the chat box. What is extras? Opportunities for publication, collaboration? Is that with working with the live cloud projects? Okay, that's a reasonable question. When I have a live class, I get to talk to my people. In the non-live class, they get to watch the recordings. In the live classes, with people that I get to see and talk to, I often get my people involved in doing things to build their portfolio. For example, about 60 of my students had authored a book together with me on passing the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. Right now, about 70 of my students are writing a book with me on passing another cloud exam, a big one. And they're doing it, and we're going to release it completely free. Why do I do this? Well, architects need to write. Architects need to be executives. And, while other people are worried about, I got to learn Python, and I got to learn this, which employers don't want. Employers want someone with a name. So, for example, I've got about 50 students that are volunteering in a Cloud Heroes Africa project, where they're functioning as junior instructors, where they're teaching cloud computing. That looks great on their resume, and they're helping people, lots of people, constantly. I've got other people co-authoring books with me. When I've got the right student that's got the right skills, occasionally I have them co-author. I will co-author a blog with them. And usually when I co-author a blog with one of my students, if they're a good student, by the end of the day, they have to shut off their phone because they've been asked by too many people, do you want a job? Do you want a job? Because they're showing themselves as a digital transformation specialist. Well, everybody else is out there focusing on, here's my tech skills, here's my tech skills. So that's the kind of things that we do with our students that we know. I can't write things with people that I don't know. So in the live class, I get to do those kind of things. In the non-live class, there's no way that I can do it. If I can't talk to somebody and I can't look them in the eye, I just, that kind of collaboration is not there. Now, don't get me wrong, the classes are the same, live and non-live. I mean, all the content is the same. And the weekly class lectures that are live, we put inside the chat, we put inside the non-live program, because I don't want everybody losing anything. But the opportunity for this, plus here's the other stuff. Almost every day a recruiter says, hey, Mike, do you know anybody to fill this job? And in the live classes, I can say, I sure do. I have Dibia, and she's a rock star. Or I have Nikhil, and he's amazing. Or I've got, I don't want to use actual names of my students, or I've got a Chow, and she's the greatest thing ever. Or I've got a Leo that's one of the greatest things ever. And when I get calls from a recruiter like that, I often tell my students, hey, wait, I know you. I've seen the architectures you've designed in class, and I pass their information on to the recruiter. But in either case, we do so much resume work with our students. They get 5 to 15 recruiters that reach out to them each day, or hiring managers that are trying to hire them. So it's not a problem in either case. It's just when I know someone and someone says, hey, Mike, do you know somebody great? I can say, as a matter of fact, I do know this guy that's incredible. So that's kind of the thing. And that's the difference. Dylan Bell, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Mike. Truly a real man. I want your advice, and I have 3 months of nothing to do before college. What would you recommend you do to improve yourself during this time? Dylan, that is fantastic. And I love this, love this, love this. So I'm going to give you a couple of things. If you had the chance to take our course, I would love to see you in that. But I also understand you might not be able to. If you can, here's what I would literally like you to do. I would like you to start giving presentations all the time. And your presentation should be designed to influence someone in somewhere. So I would pick up a pen, I don't care what it is, and try to sell that pen to somebody to really build those communication skills. I would start taking whatever you know. Maybe you know something really well. Maybe you're an expert at football. Maybe you're an expert on fixing PCs. I don't know. Maybe there's something that you know really well. Start teaching it to your friends. Start teaching it to your friends. Because, that's really the kind of thing that I want you to do. I want you to show the world that you can talk to people. And, Dylan Bell, I'd practice writing. And I'd practice writing for elegance and simplicity. See, and it's the exact opposite of what we're taught in school. See, when I did my MBA, and I recommend MBAs, and I like MBAs, in my MBA program, it was write a 20-page paper and cite it in the American Psychiatric Association format, et cetera, et cetera. And what they should have told us in school, Dylan, was put 20 pages of content in a page and a half and make sure your sentences are 11 words or less and easy to read. So I'd like you to get practice explaining complicated concepts. And I would like when you learn Linux, and I'd say maybe learn a little bit of Linux, and I'd say learn a little bit of networking, et cetera, like that. And I think that's a really great thing for you to do because generically, you're young enough that you can get your hands dirty on a little bit of Linux. And, I'm not telling you to become a Linux engineer, but if you've got a notebook, erase Windows and put Linux on it, and then use that as your primary operating system. That'll give you a little bit. Try to learn some networking things, some OSPF, some BGP, some subnetting and supernetting. Oh, by the way, I got lots of free boot camps for that next week, so keep doing that. And really go out there and learn how to learn. Go out there and be curious. Watch one of my videos that we do. And if I'm video and I'm talking about BGP and you're curious, go to the Internet Engineering Task Force and download the BGP RFCs and read that spec. So it's a little bit about learning to be curious each day and learning a little more. It doesn't really matter what it is. And really build these career agility skills, the likability skills, the gravitas, make sure that the world can see you. Get used to presenting, get used to selling. Try to become the captain on a team or something like that. Take a leadership position to show you're a leader. Learn to write. And then learn the tech. The networking tech, the data center tech, and you're going to be great. And then when you're ready to do our stuff, you'll be so far ahead of your friends and so far ahead of your peers. And then one day, when you're 18 years old, we're going to have to polish, or 22 years old, we're going to have to polish you up really good because there's a rule. Nobody wants a young person as their cloud architect. They want an older person. So what we have to do is as follows. We're going to have to teach you, how to act bigger and how to play to your strengths. And young people's strengths is their energy, enthusiasm, and their speed of learning. Older people's strengths include wisdom and experience. That's okay. We know how to help you with that too. So keep doing that and keep watching the success stories of my students. I never in the beginning decided to ask people to make a video when they were hired. I wasn't going to do it all because to me, our students get hired every day. Why would we bother? But here's the thing. With each person that gets hired, when you listen to their stories, really listen to what they told you. They all told you for the most part, look, it's all about my sales skills, my presentation skills, my leadership skills, my executive presence. And when we ask all of them, hey, were you coding? They laugh. They say architects don't code or touch the technology, but people are studying that. So really listen to why they were successful. Copy people that are successful, and people that are not successful, don't ask them questions and try to avoid any advice they give you. That would be the advice that I would give you in the meantime. And I'm super excited about your about your going to college. And please make sure you're here for the second half of the day, which is the free boot camp too. I really would like to see you. And then, Chris, we can go to the next one. Cruz Martinez. Will the soft skills be in a separate module in the future? I see a lot of value making it. I have an MBA and need the leadership skills you program. So, Cruz, I'm going to tell you this. I actually put together an extremely good leadership program. It's called the Tech Career Accelerator Program. And this is a super leadership program. What it did is me and some of the best business leaders I've ever worked with in the last 25 years got together and we put together a leadership thing of things that actually work. So I have an MBA too. And in my MBA program, they taught me some things that were good. But then there was some other stuff. The executive presence they didn't teach. Executive writing they didn't teach. Negotiation they didn't teach correctly. Sales they didn't teach correctly. Leadership and management skills they didn't really teach correctly. So that's our Tech Career Accelerator program. And it is an excellent, excellent program. I would say it's one of those $20,000 to $30,000 leadership, soft skills, executive communication courses that we charge like $700 right now. It's a passion project of mine. And here's why I created it. I created this program for the following reasons. I created it because, I didn't want to see people spend $250,000 on an MBA and still need to learn these things. But there was also the other reason. These were the things that once I had an MBA, that when I took these training things that really made my career blossom. And that's why I put it there. And I made it for one other reason, Cruz. When my cloud architects got their first cloud architect job, and they're there, they've got a $180,000 cloud architect job, and I want to get them to $300,000. This is their program to take them from a cloud architect to that distinguished cloud architect. This is the program to take an engineer and make them a manager. This is a person who's a program manager and they want to be better at it and earn more. This is for that. This is for someone that's been in sales and wants to be a sales manager. And this works for techies like engineers and architects, as well as the sales reps. And by the people we used to put the course together, we took a business perspective and a technical perspective. It's a phenomenal program. I'm very proud of it. So that's what I would recommend. And I do huge value in making it. Has anyone noticed that companies are starting to hire hybrid roles that require both implementation and solution architect? Actually, it's going the exact opposite direction. There were, in the beginning, when no one knew what these architects were, they were more hybrid roles. And now they're getting more separated. You can't do both at the same time. You can't fly an airplane and keep the passengers safe in their seat. You can't do big picture thinking and try and zoom in. Everything is a disaster. And here's the reason why you can't do both. If I asked you to present to the CEO about $1 billion deal, you need a lot of training for that. And when I ask you to read a financial statement, a balance sheet, and make recommendations, technology recommendations, you need an MBA's worth of knowledge for that. And when you have $1 billion solution and you need to do some return on investment capital modeling to your customer to show them that you're delivering $3 billion of value and it's only costing them $1 billion, you need some business acumen. Now, architects give speeches in front of 5,000 person audiences constantly. The way you see me, and I think I was in 30 or plus magazines. We were in 1,100 newspapers just last week with something that we released out there. The way I'm constantly in the press, as an architect, you're going to be constantly in the press. And that means media training. Now, you're going to have to be giving presentations to executives, and you're going to be dealing with analytical executives, and you're going to be dealing with visionary executives like me, as well as functional executives who are more process oriented. And you got to know how to communicate to those types. Now, You're going to be negotiating deals. You're going to need some negotiation training, which is kind of like that. And this is just beginning to touch the things on the business side. So you really need to be an executive, almost as good as the account manager. And that takes a lot of training and expertise. And then next, you need to be able to lead the team. Now, Hobbit King, here's the thing. You will never design an architecture yourself, ever, unless you don't work in anything major. As an architect, you're literally going to go to that customer, ask those executives about their business. Then you're going to bring a team of 40 or 50 people in to baseline their systems, and you're going to have to lead them. And then when it comes time for the architecture, you're going to be there as the coordinator, as the architect. And you're going to go back to your company. You're going to be reaching out to the CEO, the EVPs, the SVPs, for example, and you're going to be saying, I need these 10 cloud architects, these 5 cloud security architects, this cloud IAM architect, 3 big data architects, 10 DevOps engineers, 4 maintenance people or SysOps people, 13 cloud engineers, and a cloud security engineer and a cloud network engineer, and some DBAs, some database administrators. And then you're going to get them together in the room. And you're going to be leading this discussion for the design. And then once it's done, you're going to document it. And then you've got to go present it back to the customer, sell it back to the customer, negotiate it. So Hobbit King, when you're dealing with that level of skill set, it takes us 500 hours to change up. You can't be implementing. And the second you start doing implementation, here's what you end up doing. You lose focus on the big picture, and your customers will literally have outages, and you will be a disaster. So you can't possibly do both. Now, the question is, with regards to job descriptions that were looking a little wacky out there, the problem was in the early days, everybody knows what knew what a network architect was. Everybody knows what an enterprise architect. And then some of the providers made a cloud engineering course and called it a solution architect course, which was all based upon cloud engineering. And Hobbit King, that's when we made our program, because the people can do those certifications all day, and nobody's ever going to hire them as architects because they're engineering certifications. And that's kind of that. To kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So that is the reason. It got so bad, and I'll read you this article from CIO Magazine. It got so bad because, there's thousands of us architects that are out there. And all of us know what we architects actually do because we're architects. We used to look at some of these job descriptions and literally laugh. And we would laugh at them and say, this is comical entertainment. And, every day where I speak to my architects that are getting jobs, what do? They're like, Mike, I tell jokes, I buy lunches, I give presentations, I sell exactly what you told me. So that got so bad that Gartner, and I'll tell you who Gartner is if you're new to tech, you want to know who the best cloud is? Ask Gartner. Best firewall? Ask Gartner. Best VPN technology? Ask Gartner. Best anything? Ask Gartner. And when Gartner saw a while ago, and they're getting better right now, the job descriptions, when they saw architecture and engineering mixed in the same job, Gartner went, what the heck is this? So Gartner decided to say, let's ask the customers what they want to hire. Here's the thing. They asked the customers what they want to hire. And here's what the customer said. So who responded? The chief information officer. So look at it this way. I'm the CEO of the company. Do you know what my chief information officer would be doing if I wasn't fulfilling that role as well? They'd be determining all the technology that would meet my strategy. That's their job. So you want to get hired in tech? Who's your boss? The chief information officer. So here you go. Gartner asked chief information officers, what do you want in the perfect cloud architect? And here's what they said. We would like someone that can lead the cultural change for cloud adoption, develop and coordinate a cloud architecture. That means design, and develop a cloud strategy and coordinate the adoption process. That's exactly what I've done for 25 years. Next, they said, what do you want them to do every day? They said, find talent with the necessary skills, assess application software and hardware, create a cloud broker team, establish best practices for the cloud across the company, oversee governance and mitigate risk, working closely with IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures, manage budgets and estimate cost, and operate at scale. So as you can see, they're telling you, I don't want this. The only people that are doing this are the people that are pushing certification classes. They're trying to turn the architect into a techie, and here's what happens. They look like techies, and no one will ever hire them. So that's what we do, and that's what we're seeing. And our students that we've got graduated, which is somewhere on the nature of 100, I can't keep track in the last year, that all got cloud architect jobs. I haven't had a single one that touched the technology yet, because that's not what architects do. We design, present, and sell. Chris, you can go to the next question. But, I'll give you this guidance. If any job is posted as a hybrid role, run as fast as you can away from it. And here's the reason. You can't fly an airplane and keep people in their seats at the same time. And if you do, the plane's going to crash. So fly the plane properly. Chris, you can go to the next one. Right now, right here. Is your training focused on AWS, Azure, Google, or something else? If you want to work as a cloud architect, you must know the cloud, which means AWS, Azure, OpenStack, Google. You have to know all of them. So there's two ways you could do this right here, right now. And I know you have right now, right here, but I like the Van Halen song, so I'm kind of changing your name over there. Here's the thing. If I teach you the cloud, which I do, and I teach you what a virtual machine is, and you know it, and you do it in my data center, if it's an EC2 instance on AWS, an Azure virtual machine, a compute engine instance on Google, a virtual machine in VMware, a virtual machine in KVM, a virtual machine in Oracle, or a compute engine instance in Google, it's identical. So I teach you how to drive the cloud. Now, here's the thing. We do teach the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, but that's nothing. We teach the Azure Solution Architect Experts, but that's nothing. We teach you how to design and build your own cloud. All of my students design and build their own cloud. So when someone's busy saying, hey, I set up an EC2 instance or an S3 bucket, you're like, I designed and built my own cloud. I'm cloud confident. I'm willing to go above and beyond, and I have energy, enthusiasm, and expertise like no one else in the world. So our training is focused on that cloud. Every architecture we do is based on 2 or more clouds. Why? 87% of customers use 2 or more clouds, and knowing one cloud is not enough. And 97% will be on 2 or more clouds by the end of the year, according to executives when they are asked. So you must know 2 clouds. So we teach AWS, we teach Azure, and we teach OpenStack. But that's not, right now my students are working on a Google Professional Architect book together with me, because we teach all clouds. Because if you want to be a cloud architect, you have to know the cloud, the cloud, the cloud. And then you'll be successful. Because nobody's going to interview you and think that, I need an unscalable database, huge scalability. I'm just going to use DynamoDB. And here's the reason why. In a multi-cloud environment, no matter how good that database is, we can't use it. Now we can use Apache Cassandra. We can use MongoDB. And as architects, we need to have the wisdom and the knowledge to say, if there's more write traffic than read traffic, use Apache Cassandra for my NoSQL database. But if it's more read traffic than write traffic, guess what? You need to use MongoDB. So these are the kind of architectural considerations, and we train you on all the clouds, because that way you can work anywhere. And that's why I have students working in the Google Cloud, students working at AWS, students working at Bearing Point, Accenture, Deloitte, big banks, big people of all kinds. And there are other tech companies like Cisco, and that's the reason why. Because we teach the skills that make you nimble in your career, where you can work anywhere, because you'll know all clouds. And if you're working on a company like American Airlines, who has their own OpenStack cloud, we trained you for that. For example, Verizon has their own OpenStack cloud too. So we train you for that cloud, the AWS cloud, the Azure cloud, and we still do Google Cloud training as well. Because that's what it takes to make you excellent. And what do we care? That our students are the finest. And here's the thing, when our students go on an interview and somebody else's students go on an interview, I just want you to think about this. Somebody else's students, I've got 6 certifications, I'm a child. And then you ask them something, how do you design this? And they're like, I know how to configure it. And then they're like, what's your experience? I set up an EC2 instance S3 bucket. It feels like a child, right? Now, there's my students. They roar like a lion. Here's my students. Well, they look like MBAs. They speak like MBA executives. They can command the room. They know how to interview. They know what the hiring manager wants. They present themselves as an expert. They can talk about being an expert on 3 clouds. They can talk about designing and building their own clouds. Got a little child over here. Had your Nisi Chillins. You got my people. They're like a lion. They're the king of the jungle, and that's how my students get hired every time. And it's not just that. So I want you to think about this. Did you know that 50% of your interview is related to your competency, but the other 50% of your interview is related to your soft skills, executive presence, attitude, energy, enthusiasm, leadership ability, communications ability? And by mastering both, even when you don't have experience, the employers often look at you and say, I need you on my team. So that's what our training is focused on. Everything you need to get you hired. And that's why it's really a $50,000 course. Now we only charge, $9.99 for it. And right now there's a 30% discount because I don't need to work. I don't at all. I came out of retirement to help people get cloud hired because I saw what was out there. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Helen of Troy, exactly. That all of that is $9.99. That's the point. We decided to take everything. Cloud Solution Architect, I don't think you understand what an architect is, so let me explain to this. There is no presentation template that you can use. Never. And here's the why. Every architecture is going to be based upon a different customer business problem. And some are going to need different ROI models, some are going to need different designs. And I think what you're looking for is an engineering cookie cutter recipe. That's not architecture. Yes, we do have some questions that people ask, and we've got a list of questions people ask, but it's going to change every time because you're going to need a different set of questions based upon different business situations. Documentation template, every RFI, RFP, RFQ is going to be based upon customer basis and their goals. Every time. Every time. And I can't give you a template for that. And if I did, you wouldn't become an architect. You'd be unemployable and you'd have techie skills. I'm not trying to create a technician here. We're creating architects. And the doctor can't walk into their office every single day and say, okay, this patient's getting this cookie, this patient's getting this drug, this patient's getting this drug. They have to assess the patient. What is your problem? Tell me about your problem. And they have to examine them. And that's what's going to be there. So we need wisdom for this job. This is not a technician job. And what you're trying to do is ask questions if we can water it down to a technician. And I can't make a professional a technician. So no. Now we've got people know what to do and how to do and why to learn it because we teach them the questions to ask. But I'm not going to train a doctor. Here's your 10 pills. And these are the only 10 things you can prescribe. Ask it like this way. Never am I going to do that. I'm going to teach the doctor about pharmacology. Here are your families of drugs. Here are your bacterium that exist. Here are the processes in the human body. Now, this blood pressure drug works by knocking out the sympathetic nervous system. This drug works by stopping renin from converting to angiotensin too. This one does this versus this. And it's that professional judgment, whether it be medicine or that professional judgment in architecture that makes us an architect. And that's why when people ask us like 1,000 questions on the content in our course, we're like, you have to understand the job to really even know what you're even asking. So we teach how to do these things as a professional, but each one's going to be different. And if you try to use the same one for every time, I promise you your replacement will thank you in the first 15 minutes of your first day of work. They're not looking for cookie cutter templates. They're looking for executives to do different things. If you watch John Chambers give a speech, do you think he would give the same speech to the Navy as he would to JP Morgan Chase, as he would for Verizon? It would be different every single time because we build an architecture based upon business requirements. So what you're trying to do is turn it into technical requirements. The business requirements. What are the business requirements? What does the CEO tell you? What does the CFO tell you? What does the CIO tell you? What is stated on the balance sheet? What is in there in the financial statement? What are the industry analysts telling you? When you go on site, what are the employees telling you about their job, their workflow? That is what we do. And that's why you have to focus so much on the business. That drives everything. Look, if I needed to fly across the world in an airplane, right? What kind of plane would I use? Well, it depends. If I needed to be, in a war battle and I needed to fight, other fighter planes, I'd take a fighter plane like an F-16 or an F-35. Now, if I had a tremendous amount of cargo and I had to move, huge things, I might use a cargo plane like a C-130, for example. Now, by comparison, I might have 3 executives that need to go somewhere, and we might recommend a beautiful private plane. Or we might need to get someplace as cheap as possible, as fast as possible, go to 100 miles, and we might take a propeller plane. And all of that is based upon what we need to do. So I hope I explained this to you. This is not a techie job, not a technician job, like where you can just have a list of things. This is wisdom and professional development, and that's what we have to teach. Chris, we can go to the next one. You're more than welcome, Hobbit King. Good thing you didn't take that job because you are set up to fail. You'd be set up to fail. And sometimes, Hobbit King, there's one more thing to keep in mind. Early in my career, I took a job. It was an extremely high-paying network architect job. And I only lasted there 5 days. I didn't like the company, so I quit. And I went to another job because I had 2 job offers at the same time. One paid a lot more than the other. And when I walked in on the first day, they're like, "Welcome, new network architect. I want you to do network engineering." And I said, "What?" They said, "I want you to design it and build it." I said, "How's that going to work?" And he said, "Well, I want you to do 12 sales calls a day. How are you doing? How to build this?" And I looked at him and laughed. I said, "So why are you calling this an architect position?" And he says, "Oh, it's not. I just have an engineer, and I wanted to be able to pay you $200,000 a year." This was like 25 years ago. And I went, "I'm an architect, not an engineer. If I wanted engineering, I would do an engineering job." They made a title of architect so they could pay me more. It was crazy. I lasted 5 days, walked out the door and said, "I'm going to fail on this." Here was the dead giveaway. When I walked into that company on the first day, the person that was there was like, "So good to meet you." Bye. And he ran out the door. And I asked him on the way out the door, I met him in the parking lot, "How long were you here?" It was like a month. They tried me to do engineering and architecture. It was crazy. He said, "I replaced somebody else that was excited to see me in a month, Mike. Give me a call." I left 5 days. I walked out the back door, called him and said, "No, thank you." And I was young, and that was a stupid way to do it. But, there was that. And I went to be a principal architect at Comcast 5 days later. You can't do 2 things at once. Up and up. Good morning, Mike. Can you please describe the process of the interview? Okay, so how many stages? This is something we really need to talk about. A lot of this has to do with how good you are. There's typically 4 or 5 interviews. And for example, like at Cisco, there was 16 interviews for a typical position, but I was hired by Cisco in 2 days. So if you truly wow them, you never know, you could be hired much faster. But typically speaking, there's a basic, techie little screening interview. It's basic, nothing worth talking about. And then there's a behavioral question or 2 interview. And then they want to see for real. Now, AWS is smart, and if you don't have experience, they don't care as long as you're good. They hire good, and great people, for example. So they hire people with competency. So the last one, which is really the one, is where they give you a problem. And it's a basic problem. It's so junior. When my students get it, they laugh. They're like, "Mike, compared to what we do in class, this is nothing." And I said, "Good. That's why I prepare you in class, to over-prepare you." And it's a presentation. It's like a 4-hour interview. And it's really about, do they like you? Is your attitude good? Are your soft skills good? Can they trust you? Can you sell? And, that's really the key. My students usually blow them on the way. So basically, it's a couple of interviews. And the last thing is the presentation. Now, for architects, they're not going to ask you to code. They're not going to ask you to touch the tech. They're not going to ask you to configure, but you will be required to present. And up, that's the thing. With all good jobs, you're going to have to give a presentation. Now, let's think about what happens. For the certification people, they get certified, and then they have to give a presentation, and it's a disaster. Instead, design the architecture and present it in a manner that's going to blow them away, and that's how you get hired. Also, they've got their leadership principles. They're the same leadership principles of every good company. And there's a video that I made on, the leadership principles, because when you talk to them, they love those principles. You always have to respond to it in every question you answer. You got to inject it somewhere along the line. So there's kind of that. So keep that in the back of your mind. A couple of them, very behavioral interview oriented. Now, behavioral interviews are based on the premise that we don't learn. I'm not a big fan of behavioral interviews for this reason. When I ask you, tell me about a problem you had with somebody else and what you did about it, the theory of behavioral interviews is if you once did something bad 20 years ago, in the future, you're going to make the same mistake. Now, I don't believe that. That's why we have education and training to get better, and we learn from our mistakes, but that's the basis. So I also, on our YouTube channel, have a video on preparing for behavioral interviews. So please see that as well. And also, there's about 15 interview practice videos on our YouTube channel. That is fantastic. And if you really want something good, you can do our Tech Interview Mastery Program. It's very inexpensive. It's literally 50% of the cost of meeting with me for an hour to do a practice interview, and it's very comprehensive, and I can recommend that as well. Hope I answered your question there. Helen of Troy, when does the next program start? The second you sign up. I don't do batches. I think batches are the worst thing ever, and here's why I don't do batches. I come from the world of medicine and martial arts. And what's really critical about these worlds is people work in a mentoring, coaching group sort of community. So when somebody graduates medical school, they don't know anything. Nothing, zero. So they do an internship for a year, and then they do 3 or 4 years as a residency. And here's where they learn. And your 4th year residents work with your 3rd year residents, with your 2nd year residents, 1st years, interns, etc. You mix them all together. And why are you doing this? To create an environment where everybody shares knowledge. So by not doing batches, this is the flexibility that I have. I can literally let you stay on my program, which is based on 16 weeks, until you're hired or 1 year passes. Yes, that's right. We can say that we have close to 100% success rate for the people that complete all the requirements of the program, because we give people up to a year in our program to get hired. I mean, nobody else would do it, but we're not crazy. We just want our students to get hired. So there's that. So now imagine Helen of Troy, and I love that name. Are you Greek like me? So, because Isa Elenis. So let's think about it from the perspective of why I do this. So let's say we're in an architecture class. Let's say we got a next Tuesday's architecture class. And for example, in Tuesday's architecture class, I'm going to have some people that are ready to graduate. And by graduate, I mean get hired, cloud hired. And then I'm going to have some people that have been in the program for like 3 months that are learning, knowing what they're doing, and they can assist the senior people, but they're not ready yet. In Helen of Troy, I just got somebody that just came brand new today. So when we're doing the architecture, the people that are senior are going to be leading most of the work. And of course, with our supervision and mentoring in class, the junior people will be assisting the senior people, and those new young people will be watching. 4 weeks later, all those senior people are cloud hired. Big party. They've all gotten hired. They're excited, happy. Making a cloud hired video. Now, we didn't always do them, but we started doing them recently, making those videos. Before that, we're getting plenty of people hired. So they're hired. Now those junior people now have about 4 months experience, starting to get pretty good. Now they're the senior students. Now they're leading the class. The new people that signed up now are now the junior students helping the senior students, and the new students sign up. Senior students get hired, and it's a constant mentorship. Why else is this great? I can leave people in there as long as possible, up to a year. Why else is it good? One of my students gets hired, they bring other people with them. They form relationships forever. They got a big global network. And my students all help each other. And that's why I do it that way. Because I want everybody hired. I want everybody having the best career ever. And I can't be one of those people that says, here, you bought this course and it's 16 weeks. Bye. You're kicked out. You're out of here. Because that's what I want to do. I want everybody getting cloud hired. Sandy. Hey, Mike, do cloud architects do any processing? For example, sitting in a call? No, thankfully, we don't have to do that at all. So great question, Sandy. So typically in these environments, or people, what Sandy's asking is, sales. Normally, sales rep cold call people. Call this one, call this one, call this one, call this one. And then that, let me tell you, is no fun. But we don't do any of that. So organizations in technology have 2 kinds of sales reps. They have inside sales reps and they have outside sales reps. Inside sales reps and inside sales engineers do the following. They call people and make appointments for you. So we just go to all warm appointments. So we don't have to do any of that, thankfully. That's all done for us. Generally speaking, we don't do the costing either. And here's the reason why. Usually inside sales engineers will do that for us too. We can say, I need this many virtual machines of this size, this many this this. And they build the bills and materials, et cetera, and cost it for you. So they usually do that too. So, for example, that's why we're really just into designing, presenting, and sell. So no, we don't have to do this thing, thankfully, because that is no fun. No cold calls, thankfully. Great question. I see you got the response, Sandy. Of course, we can go to the next one. Nick Love, how does auto-scaling work in a hybrid cloud solution? Do you need something like VMware DC extension, or how will the cloud recognize the data center's workload? Nick, this is way, way, way outside of the career question and answers and kind of things. And you can set up hybrid cloud auto-scaling in lots of ways, and it's going to be based upon your DNS policy, for example. For example, you could have a hybrid cloud, and the cloud will do auto-scaling itself. Meaning if you've got an OpenStack cloud in the data center, and you've got 500 servers in your data center, and you're using virtual machines, and you have 100 unused servers, as needed, your web capacity could scale to those 100 unused servers and go away. And you could do this for all of your applications and pull it together just like a cloud. So you could do that in your own cloud. Now, when you use in the regular cloud, the auto-scaling will work as well. Or, for example, you could set up a DNS policy, which would send 75% of your traffic to the data center and 25% to the cloud, and the cloud could have auto-scaling on it as well. So there's lots of really cool ways to do it, Nick. And, I think that sounds like a fun class that we can do next week at some point. So let's do some of that, because I think it's a great question, Nick. So in one of the classes next week, we'll talk about it. Good question, Nick. Do you provide resources to practice on AWS, Azure, GCS, cloud? Look, I'm going to make this very easy. We provide data center stuff to do the big labs. You can get a free account on AWS, a free account on Azure, and a free account to Google to do all of our labs. So we don't need to provide an Azure lab. There's the full Azure cloud out there. Chris, let's go to the next question. Ellen of Troy, how many hours of the weekly live classes? Approximately 6. Because we have 2 3-hour classes. Great question. Up and up, you're thinking of getting a CCNA. Good. As it will help you with strong foundations. Will this certificate be beneficial regardless of any specialty you pick later on? Not necessarily. So here's the thing. If you wanted to be a cloud application architect, it wouldn't be beneficial to you at all. If you wanted to be a cloud big data architect, it wouldn't be beneficial to you at all. If you wanted to be a cloud IAM architect, it wouldn't be beneficial to you at all. If you wanted to be a cloud security architect, it might be slightly beneficial to you. If you want to become a generic cloud architect, it's great. If you want to be a cloud network architect, it's fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. So it all depends on what you want to do. So more importantly, if you give me an exact plan, I can tell you exactly what's there. I don't believe in generics training. You just don't. Here's what generic training is. It's like CrossFit, and I was a CrossFit instructor. I get it, but here's the thing. CrossFit is like this, or generic preparedness. If I give you stuff that'll prepare you for ordinary average things, then you're great, right? And that's the theory that some people just learn a little of everything. Problem is, when it comes to your career, if you're an expert, then you do better. So I'd rather you be an expert and master your career, the things that are necessary for you, than just a jack of all trades, master of none, because nobody needs that. So tell me the exact type of cloud architect you desire to be, or cloud engineer, and then I can tell you if it's beneficial or not. But usually speaking, it is. But it's not going to be regardless of everything. Helen of Troy, I manage the classes the same way. No, that's not at all true. So Helen of Troy, I manage the classes the same way you manage a medical residency, the same way you teach a yoga class with people that have all different backgrounds in it, the same way you do martial arts with people that have all different backgrounds in it, and the same way you do a college course, which has some people from different careers. They're all in there. A good leader can manage a class that's got people in it. It's not a problem. So I don't really understand. When I teach a class, if I have 10 people sign up in a day, or 12 people or 15 people sign up during that day, when they join the next class, there's going to be 50 to 100 people in it. It's going to be a full class. So there are no concepts of batches. If you went to a yoga class today, Helen of Troy, and inside of that yoga class, you'd have people like me that have been practicing and teaching yoga for 16 years. You'd have somebody that's their first day. You'd have somebody else that's in there in a month. And me and my team of instructors, when we teach a class, make sure that nobody's lost. And that's what we do. That's how you teach a class. So I don't know how or why this is a question. This is part of the job. When I go work as an architect and I have to manage 60 cloud engineers, and that's going to be normal, and 2 of them have 0 days experience, they just got hired, and 2 of them have 25 years experience, and some of them have this, I have to manage them. So that's why I spent $250,000 on leadership and management training to be good at these things, because that's what we do. And as a martial arts instructor, which I occasionally teach, again, I have people with different experiences in the same class. I don't teach it anymore, for example, because my body doesn't cooperate to teach martial arts after the injury I had, which kept me unable to walk for 8 years. But now I can walk up and down the stairs, not far, but still. But there's that. So the point is I teach it the way I teach any other thing. When I worked at Cisco and I was teaching systems engineers, every time there was something else, I had some people that had 20 years experience, some people that had 2 years experience. How did I manage it? The same way I teach anything. So I'm not really sure I understand the question. This is just part of life. This is what architects do. We work with people with broad experiences and diverse backgrounds every single day. So it's just part of the job. Marius, what's the difference between a cloud infrastructure engineer and a cloud network engineer? Sometimes a lot and sometimes nothing. Now, it depends on what people describe as infrastructure. For example, to me, infrastructure are routers and switches. That's my version of infrastructure. By comparison, some people's description of infrastructure is routers and switches and load balancers, firewalls, VPN concentrators, and IDS/IPS systems. Somebody else's definition of infrastructure is routers and switches, load balancer, firewalls, VPN concentrators, servers, and storage. So, there's really these titles are all meaningless, realistically speaking. So you kind of keep them that way. They're kind of meaningless titles. So there's that. But generally speaking, a cloud network engineer and a cloud infrastructure engineer are usually the same job, but not always, because it all depends on, Marius, what the person actually chooses to call infrastructure. Some people consider Linux to be infrastructure, so that's the key determinator. But generally, a cloud network engineer and a cloud infrastructure engineer are pretty much the same thing. I know something about network engineering. I did a little of that before I became a network architect. Chris, we can go to the next question. Leopold. Hi, how do you think the potential recession will impact the job market for cloud professionals? I think it's going to be really great for some careers and really bad for other careers. I think the cloud architect career will continue to blossom. And the reason is the cloud architect is a digital transformation specialist. They're going to go into companies that are going to help them with their business. So, for example, there's a recession. The cloud architect will come up with ways to enhance communication, collaboration, sales, for example. Now that brings in money to the companies that are there where they're selling, so they typically grow. Now, having said all that, it'll change what the cloud architect does. In a recessionary environment, the cloud architect will be creating communications and collaboration technologies to help get rid of some of the cloud professionals, not the architects. And I'm going to tell you who's going to be replaced and where they can be sent to. And I'll tell you why there's certain jobs like software engineering, which I think are terrible, that I never recommend, and I'll tell you why. So what I think is going to happen is the market for cloud architects is going to increase, and we cloud architects are going to be getting involved in automation architectures to try and help companies do more with less like we normally do. We'll be involved in increasing productivity and helping companies lay off to do more with less. So who benefits? The DevOps engineers are also going to typically do well in this, and the reason is one DevOps engineer can replace all these admins and deploy what 20 people can do by themselves. The little infrastructure as code. So I see DevOps as good. Now, cloud engineers, I still see as good, and here's the reason why. Not as good as the architect or anything close to it, but still good, and here's why. When I design something to take it out of their data center to get it into the cloud to improve business performance, provide digital transformation, etc., we need somebody to build it. So the cloud engineers are good. Now, who gets crushed in a recession? Anybody with a cloud admin job, and here's the reason why. I'm not going to pay $30 to a cloud admin in the US when I can find a cloud admin in India for $10 an hour. If I'm a company and I'm losing money and I've got $30 in the US plus benefits or $10 offshore, I'm going to hire offshore. So software developers, I get people that are trying to work for me every day between $10 to $15 an hour as a software developer overseas. I don't use them, but the point is because I don't do software development. But software engineering, that gets outsourced to the cheapest place you can find it in the world. And there's lots of really smart people in India, Africa, Russia, Ukraine, all those Eastern Bloc countries. Lots of people that are less expensive, that are super capable. So software development gets lost, administration gets lost. It'll still be done, but it'll be done in a place where it can be done cheaper. After all, what do we do anyway? We sponsor visas to bring people over because we don't have enough qualified people to do the jobs. In a bad economy, anything that can be there. So, Leopold, who gets paid? Well, people that are tied to sales, like architects, their jobs don't go cut, generally speaking. People with good attitudes are good. People with executive presence, energy, enthusiasm, the right attitude, and integrity are good. People that go above and beyond are good. So the kind of people we train, Leopold, usually do really well. Who doesn't do well? The cranky person, the lazy person, the person that's not emotionally intelligent and not nice to others, the person that's the social outcast, they're the first to go. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But anything related to bringing money in, like sales, generally doesn't go, assuming you're doing your job. Anything related to automation, again, excellent, because it's cutting costs out. So I see a boom in communication and collaboration technology, automation technology, machine learning, etc. That's where I see it, Leopold. And it is a fantastic question. By the way, I really love that the avatar you have there. It's pretty cool. Sorry. It would help if I could drink water without spilling it in my eyes, face, and shirt. Up and up, following the CCNA question, you're brand new to technology. You're debating to choose between networking and security. Good question. I'm going to tell you this, what I tell everybody else. What do you love? May sound silly, but look, if you can make money doing anything. You can make money selling stuffed rabbits or stuffed cats if you wanted to. And I mean stuffed animal cats, not beautiful kittens that are alive. But, there's that. So the point, but if you do what you love, and you become great at it, I mean truly great at it, when you truly do what you love, you'll be good at it. So if you like protecting things, maybe you're a martial artist or had a past job as a soldier or a police officer, and you're one of those people that likes to go protect things, then security is good for you. I like security. By comparison, maybe you're like me, and you just love networking, in which case do networking. Generally speaking, it's never a disadvantage to know networking, and it's generally never a disadvantage to know security because those kind of things are critical for everything. Generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of getting unfocused things, and the two go together because, for example, when you're building a firewall, really you have to know the subnet, the source destination, protocol port number, etc. And those people that do network security, that know networking, know a lot more, because they know other things that we can do. So those two can go together a little bit. But I think really you've got to figure out, what do you love? It really has to be, what do you love? That's what matters. So if you like to protect things, it's security. If you like to connect things, it's networking. And really, it doesn't matter. They're both great. Mark Twain said it best. You see, I used to practice internal medicine. I was a nurse practitioner, had my own practice, and here's what I learned. I used to work 12 hours a day, and it was hard. I liked what I did, but it was hard. It was work. And then I switched to tech. Yeah, maybe I put in 16 hours. But here's the thing. I never worked. It was fun for me. It was kind of like I got paid for my hobby. I got paid to talk about tech, write about tech, and play with tech. It was the most exciting thing ever. And I got to get paid training to learn about more tech. It was the greatest thing ever. Just do what you love. We've got some free networking training, like a CCNA training in this class. Channel, take it. See if it's interesting to you. TKS Tech, will the program help you become a cloud security architect? You just got your CICCP last year, but work as a security infrastructure, only of Cisco. TKS Tech, yesterday, one of my students just got a cloud security architect job after working in our program. He came to me a year ago, incredibly fine person. He'd been on 20 interviews, never got hired at all. He was inside of my program for 3 weeks. He got 3 jobs as a vulnerability manager in security within a few weeks. He took those because he needed a job. So he went through my program a little slower, and he just got offered a cloud security architect job just yesterday. So this happens all the time. All the time. So yes, we could easily get you a job as a cloud security architect as long as you did the work. Easily, easily, easily. We'll have to teach you security. And I know you have the CISSP, but we still probably need to teach you security principles. How do you architect your systems? How do you work around the weaknesses of the cloud, etc. But I'm sure we could help you become a cloud security architect. And the fact that you even have some experience, that's even better. So the answer is yes. I strongly feel that we could easily help you get a cloud security architect job if you did our work. Basically, our strengths are in terms of enterprise architecture, cloud network architecture, and cloud security architectures. I mean, we've got people getting all kinds of jobs, but that is our biggest core competencies. Thank you for Michael and team with your help. You'll be signing up today. Good, great. Love to work with you. Always like watching people get cloud hired. That's kind of the fun that I have. And people come to us, and lots of people don't understand what we do and why we do it. And here's the reason. Our job is so unique as architects. And people try to ask me about our syllabus, and I'm like, it's not going to make sense, and here's the reason. I don't know how many of you seen the movie Karate Kid, like the one from 20 years ago with Mr. Miyagi, where he was having somebody wax on a car and wax off of a car. And the kid got really frustrated, like, why are you doing it? And then he showed him, here's a Mackie or a block. Here's another Mackie, here's a block. And all of a sudden, the kid, from waxing the floor, got really good at actually martial arts. So we do a lot of things in our program to pattern certain sets of behavior. I may want to have one section in the emotional intelligence section, which is on mind control, which comes up later when you use the interviews. So our program is designed and based for a lot of things. We put in a lot of psychology, a lot of sociology, plenty of neuro-linguistic programming, lots of finance and economics training, lots of leadership training. We had to take it from everywhere to really give our students a leg up. And that way our students aren't at parity with anybody. Regular people go on an interview, our students go on an interview, and it's like a lion versus a kitten. Now, I love kittens, but here's the thing. If I need something to protect my house, my cat Cindy is really cute. But if I had a big, giant cat, like a lion like Elsa in the movie Born Free, it'd be better security. So I like to train my students to be Elsa the cat, Elsa the lion, because a lion is the king of the jungle, and my students are the kings and queens of the jungle. So we look forward to you telling us when you're cloud hired. Hello, Troy. Do you have a free day pass to attend live classes? We don't feel the need to do that. We are live on YouTube constantly. We have lots of free training on YouTube. We do lots of free Zoom webinars, and people get to know us and ask questions. You can see what we do. You can look at our free. You know, if you can imagine the content that we're putting out there free, you can only imagine what our paid content is. So if you've got any questions about the way we do things, the way we teach, the way we communicate, please feel free to check out our website, www.gocloudcareers.com, or look at any one of the 200 or 300 YouTube videos on our channel, and you'll get a feel for the way we communicate and teach things. Up and up, thank you, Mike. You will definitely look into your CCNA bootcamp. Please, seriously, do it. It's completely free. The reason I did it is a good CCNA bootcamp costs about $4,000 or $5,000. I was an instructor at Cisco. I used to teach the service-oriented network architectures to the systems engineer. I used to get on Cisco SETV and teach architectural principles to people. I taught architecture at Cisco. I taught architecture at Riverstone. I taught architecture and engineering, for example, at WorldCom. So kind of keep those in the back of your mind. So these are the kind of things that I've been teaching for decades. And I wanted to save people the $5,000 to get that CCNA bootcamp. So it's not going to be like anything else you're going to find out there. It's going to be really solid. So please do that CCNA bootcamp and buy the Wendell Odom books from Cisco. They're the two comparison, and you should have everything you need. While we're at it, please join us next week for the completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. We will tell you everything you need to know to get your first job. We will tell you, for example, what is exactly what a hiring manager desires. Teach you how to leverage your life experience to show the hiring manager you have real experience. Tell you exactly what the hiring manager is looking for. Tell you how to optimize and tune your resume, and teach you how to beat those HR people, so they can't block you when you get your resume directly in the hands of the hiring manager. Right now, right here, cloud architects don't code. I'm going to tell you what cloud architects do right now. Design, present, and sell. So if it's not involved in designing or presenting or selling, it's not our job. So I've been an architect now for 25 years. The only thing that I can tell you about coding is I tried learning it one time 24 years ago. I hated it, and I don't know how to do any of it. Now, you've gotten about 100 architects hired last year, no coding at all, because architects don't code. So I'll read it to you again. This is what the companies want you to do. This is posted in CIO Magazine. A cloud architect leads the cultural change for cloud adoption, develops and coordinates the cloud architecture, develops a cloud strategy and coordinates the adoption process, finds the talent with the necessary skills, assesses application software, hardware, etc., creates a cloud broker team, oversees governance and mitigates risk, works closely with the IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures, manage budgets and estimate costs, and operate at scale. So, of the thousands of architects I know, I don't know a single one, not zero, that can code, because that's somebody else's job. Now, if you ask me about a cloud engineer job, they code. If you ask me about the maintenance people's job, meaning the SysOps people, which I don't ever recommend learning, they code. If you're asking me about a DevOps engineer, wow, they need to be a software developer first, because they need to code that well, and then they can become a DevOps engineer. But cloud architects don't code. We don't touch the tech ever. We design, present, and sell. So no coding languages whatsoever, no hands-on configuration. So right here, right now, trying to think about it this way. The architect is the designer. So if I was a billionaire and I wanted to open a really beautiful hotel, something almost as nice as the Burj Al Arab in Dubai, and let's say I wanted to do it in Palm Beach, Florida, the first thing that I would do is I would hire an architect. And I'd tell the architect, I want the biggest, tallest, coolest building in the island of Palm Beach, Florida. And the architect would say, what would you want? And I'd say, a lush waterfall, a garden, a pool with a water slide, a miniature golf course. And I want it to look so beautiful that people come from all over the world. And here's what would happen. The architect would take those descriptions. The architect would then draw up some blueprints with their computer-aided drafting and design. Maybe they'd print out a 3D model, and they would present it back to me, and they would show it to me. Mike, do you like it? And I'd say, yes. And then they'd say, okay, sign off on this, and then I would hire a construction crew. The construction crew will use the hammers, the drills, a saw kind of thing. I don't know how to use tools like a screwdriver. I don't know, but one of these days I'd like to learn. It's just that I only know my job and nothing else. That's the reality. I'm a specialist. So there's that. So what you can see is the architect hires a construction crew. So right now, right here, here's my job. I get a call from a customer. Hey, Mike, I'm trying to improve my business performance with technology. Could you come and talk to me? I ask the customer to explain their business challenge. I look at the balance sheet, their financial statements. I ask a bunch of employees what's going on. I look at their workflows. I then bring in some techies, some great cloud engineers, some super smart people to come in, baseline the organization systems, tell me what they have. I then send the techies home. And I then have all the information. I then go back to my company and I build a team of engineers and architects that are going to help me design the thing. Then I document it. I write a Word document, a PowerPoint, a Visio, or a Draw.io, or a Lucidchart diagram, or you're a senior architect like me, and you write it on a napkin, and you take a picture of your napkin, and you send it to the graphics team, and it's going to make it look beautiful in InDesign. Then, what do? We go back to the customer, we present it back to the customer. The customer says, I like this and this, Mike, but not this, so I go back to the office. I bring in this extended team that I got to build. We go tune it, and I go back to the customer, I present it, and they say, I like it. So then we get part of the negotiation process. We negotiate the deal. We sell it to the customer. And once we're done right here, right now, we're gone. We turn it over to a build team of cloud engineers, DevOps engineers, etc. Just like the architect. And that's why people can't get architect jobs, because they're learning to code. They're learning sysops. They're learning DevOps. And that is not our job. That's somebody else's. So would you like a doctor that knows how to practice medicine? Or would you like a doctor that knows how to practice law? So study your job. We don't code. Ever. But we don't configure either. But what we do a lot of is design, present, and sell, and entertain clients, etc. Great question there. Nakia, no, you don't have to learn coding. If you did, I'd still be practicing medicine because I hate coding. Shoot for stars. For someone new to the field, what should be considering when determining cloud architect versus cloud engineer? What do you want to do? That's really all it takes. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's easier for me to get somebody a cloud architect job than a cloud engineer job because you got to learn so much more to be a cloud engineer. But for the people that like cloud engineering, it's fantastic. So the real question is, do you like to design, present, and sell? Do you want to be a business executive because that's the architect? Or do you like working with tech? Do you enjoy working with tech? And if you enjoy working with the tech, coding the tech, configuring the tech, then guess what? You're a cloud engineer. So what I need you to do is as follows. Determine what you like. Look at me. Do you think I enjoy sitting behind a desk? No, I hate it. Do you think I like coding? No, I hate it. Do you think I like, being hands-on? In my youth, yeah, but no, I don't enjoy it anymore. So for me, architecture is the thing. But for me, I'd rather go talk to the CEO. I'd rather evaluate their business performance and make a business recommendation. Now, shoot for the stars. There's going to be a big pay disparity between the two things, but that can't be what determines what you do. And I'm going to tell you how to maximize your pay as an engineer or an architect, because you can earn money at both if you know the secrets. So the secret is, do you want to be hands-on, or do you want to design, present, and sell? If you like coding, if you like configuring, if you like working with Linux, if you like infrastructure as code, then you will enjoy cloud engineering. By comparison, if you like to give a speech at a conference, if you want to go have a corporate credit card and spend $50,000 of company money on lunches, dinners, and drinks, entertaining clients, if you want to go travel the world and talk to people, then the architect job is the right job for you. So that's really the determination of whether you want to be on the business side, business exec, or whether you want to be technical, and they're both good. Here's the secret. Now, generally speaking, architect careers can pay a few $100,000 more a year than engineering careers. And the reason is as follows. Your value and what you get paid is determining based upon the impact you make upon your organization. So when people say there's a pay disparity between two people, yeah, just one person doing more than the other. That's the first thing I want to look for. till I determine whether it's a real pay disparity or not. And what I mean by this is, who gets paid more? The people that have the most emotional intelligence. Want to know how much on average it makes? $29,600 more per year. How about soft skills? Do you know how much that makes on the average person? 30% different in their salary. So if you want to be an architect, these soft skills are critical. You can't become an architect with tech skills. You must have design skills, sales skills, presentation skills, executive presence skills, ROI modeling skills, leadership skills, CXO relevancy, negotiation skills, interview skills, etc. You need that as the architect. But guess what? If the engineer learns those same skills, then they can add another $50,000 to $100,000 to their salary, and then they can get paid more and be bigger. So I teach those same executive skills to my engineers and architects. Now, my engineers don't like them. I can tell you that right now. I put them in these classes, and half of them just get quiet. But if they do it, it'll help them get hired more and paid more. So the key is, what do you enjoy? If you're like me, it's architect all the way. But if you like to be technical, it's engineering all the way. And here's really the thing. It doesn't matter. It just matters that you're happy. One's not better than the other. They're just different. You know, a pharmacist is not better than a physical therapist, or a physical therapist is not better than a pharmacist. They just do different jobs. How do you choose what you should do? Choose what makes you happy. Choose what makes you happy. So I don't know what that is that makes you happy. So if you like to design, present, and sell, be an architect. If you like to code and configure, be an engineer. But really what matters most is you do what makes you happy. And here's the thing. If you're miserable in your job, you're going to look like this all day. When you look like this all day, you don't have a good career. So do what you love. Make your vacation or your holiday your vacation, and you'll never work a day in your life. That was the advice of Mark Twain. I used to read 1,000 pages a day and multiple nonfiction week per week. I've never read a fiction book, but Mark Twain had some cool quotes, which I thought were kind of cool. So that was one of them. That's my recommendation. Do what you love. Now, if you'd like to ask a subsequent question about that, shoot for the stars. I'm all happy to help you, to ask you some questions, but I just do what you love. Ashwini, could you please guide us on how to get a feel in a cloud environment as a free trial we'll give you with any of the cloud providers? Ashwini, you could just sign up for a free cloud environment trial with any of them. The problem is that it's not going to teach you anything. And here's the reason. The cloud providers have basically gone marketing cuckoo, which is what I like to say. Here's marketing cuckoo. They've done such obfuscation of what they did, you didn't even realize it. So Ashwini Kumar, I'd say learn the network in a data center. That's how you're going to learn it. Because, for example, AWS made a massive press release here. We now support east-west routing. And all the people that worked there that had just passed their certifications went, oh my God, I must have saw 1,000 LinkedIn posts that day that AWS announced east-west routing. No, they were all clearly, except from the few people that worked at AWS, unemployed people that will be continually unemployed for the rest of their life after that post. And here's why. East-west routing is routing between subnets. That is 40-year-old technology that Cisco was doing in the 80s. I'm not joking. And for that big press release to come out there and all these people to say, oh my God, we can now do east-west routing. They made themselves look like idiots when they made this post, because we've done it for 40 years. So how do you get a feel for the cloud? To learn the cloud, which means get rid of all this silly nonsense that they would talk about and really get to brass tacks. What is a virtual machine? What is a container? What is a database? What is a load balancer? How does this work, and why should an organization use it? When do I use a network load balancer? When do I use an application load balancer? When do I need to use both? What kinds of relational databases can I choose? What are the strengths and weaknesses of each one? What kind of NoSQL databases exist? What are the strengths and weaknesses of each one? What kind of business applications exist? CRM applications, ERM applications, ERP applications, etc. What kind of unified communications exist? What kind of security is out there? firewalls, next generation firewalls, VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems, for example. How does block storage work? Object storage work? File storage work? See, when you know this, you know all of the clouds. But if you tried to go through this is my elastic rotational this thing, you're not going to know anything because they're using these crazy names to basically obfuscate it. And here's why. Can you really charge a lot of money and make a press release about something that's 40 years old? No. But if you name it something cool, east-west routing versus routing between subnets, it sounds cool, right? Really sounds exciting, right? But it's the same old 40-year-old thing. An elastic compute instance was invented by IBM in the 70s. That was the first virtual machine in the 70s. Now, if they called it time-sharing mainframes like IBM did it, it wouldn't sound cool. Elastic compute cloud. It's the same 50-year-old technology. The virtual machine, the virtual LAN, the container is the private VLAN is the equivalent of the container. It's all old tech. So if you just learn the original tech, then you'll know all the code. And then you get on a console and says, I need a network load balancers and 4 virtual machines, you'll know exactly what it is and it'll be nothing. So that's what I'd say. Learn the cloud. Because then everything's easy. But you just get yourself your free site on AWS and you click a bunch of things and you don't know what they are. What are you doing? What's the point? And I'm going to tell you this, Ashwini. When it comes down to it, you got to know what it is, how it works, and why we would use it. So I would say learn the tech first, and then in a weekend, literally speaking, you can learn all this stuff on the cloud. It's that easy. It's so silly easy when you know how it works. But what do people do? They learn how to configure it. So I want you to understand how irrelevant that is. So let's say you wanted to cook, for example. Let's say you wanted to manufacture cheese. And you wanted to be the best cheese manufacturer in the world. If you just got a job as a cook in a kitchen, do you think that would teach you how to manufacture cheese? No. And that's what it's like learning how to configure. It's like, hey, I learned how to bake the cheese and do a cheeseburger, but I don't know how to make the cheese. I don't know how it's designed. So that's the difference between architecture and engineering. So I'd say learn the technology first and then spend a weekend with this cloud stuff, and it's easy. Most of what we do is teach our students what is everything. And then when we show them the cloud stuff, it's like an eye-opener. That's it? You kidding me? That it? And then our students can explain it so well to their hiring managers that they're like, wow, this person gets it. And that's why they get hired. So I would do it the exact opposite of just using a free trial. Learn the tech, and then you can play with it later. Otherwise, you're just playing with something and you have no idea what it means. And Ashwini, that's why I came out of retirement. I was retired. I don't need to work at all. I came out of retirement for this reason. I was dealing with a blockchain data center, for example, and I brought some interns to set up this blockchain data center. It went up amazingly. And the owner of the data center says, Mike, your students, your interns are amazing. My kid's graduated in college with a degree. Could you train him too? And I said, sure. So here's what happened. I bought him the 3 best-selling certification courses and told him I'd spend 2 to 4 hours with him every Friday. Now, after 3 days with these ridiculous certification courses, the kid called me back and said, Mike, I set up an EC2 with an S3 bucket, but what is it? I got to tell you, I watched these 3 training courses in horror. And it wasn't that they were just PowerPoint slides with audio, which I think is disgusting and disrespectful of the students' time. But they all it was how to do something, but without explaining what it was. So I was so upset about it, Ashwini. What did I do? I literally speaking interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people from these programs. Not a single one was hireable or knew anything. And most of these people had 4 to 6 certifications because that's what their certification providers did. I felt so bad by the way these people were being ripped off, for example. But here's what I did. I and this kid wrote a book on passing the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. And we stripped out 10 pages away and we gave it away for free. just because there's that. And you know how many people have gotten that book for free and have told me, oh my God, the book changed my job, made it easier for me. So there was that. So next thing that we did is we decided to start doing our free boot camps, our free advanced networking. Why? Because I'm a CCIE with 25 years of networking experience. The AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate, because I wanted people to get something and explain what the tech was. This week, we're doing a free Azure Solutions Architect Expert. I even did a CCNA, so that people don't have to buy that kind of bad training. They can get it all for free. So I hope I answered your question. First, we can go to the next one. If you don't buy the live version, how do you get this part as needed? You send a message. Well, first, in between classes, you'll turn in your homework, and we'll basically give you feedback on it. And secondly, there's a Slack channel where people interact constantly, and you'd send a message on Slack. And our Slack channel is not like somebody else that talks about their Slack channel with 40,000 people in it that never rotates. Our Slack channel is busy, busy, busy. We scroll through his messages like unbelievably fast, and our students help each other with it all the time. Khan Kenji, how did I start in IT? Khan, that's a very interesting thing. So I was practicing internal medicine. And what was going on was as follows. I loved it, but I liked tech even more. I don't know why, Khan Kenji. Here's what ultimately happened. I was spending about $30,000 in 1996, 1997 on tech. Why? Because I loved it. So I was practicing internal medicine from 7 to 3, 3 to 5, and whatever it was. And I'd get home around 7 o'clock at night, lock myself in our room until 2 o'clock in the morning and play with routers and switches that I bought because it was fun. I just loved it. And then one day my wife says to me, she says, dear, in the last 2 years, you spent $60,000 on computers, routers, and switches. And I said, I know, but I just love them. And she says to me, you know, you could actually get paid to go work in tech, and you wouldn't have to spend all of our money on tech. And you might not have to be up till 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, my wife has 170 IQ, Con. I mean, she's so smart that she learned Spanish in 10 days because her translators couldn't understand her thoughts. And she can do calculus in her head, too. She's super smart. So when she said become a techie, I did it. So Khan Kenji, what did I do? Well, I made the mistake that everybody makes, which is why I do all this free training. I called my local computer store and signed up for this 5-day, $5,000 back in like 1996, 1997 MCSC boot camp, where I became a Microsoft certified professional in MCSC, thinking that would get me hired, right? Well, of course it didn't. No one cared. So what did I do next? Well, locked myself in a room for 4 days and became a CCNA. What do you think employers cared? Zero. So I called the company and they said, oh, we got another certification for you. And they suckered me into this 10-day, $11,000 CCNP boot camp. So past that, get home. Who do you think's interested in me? Nobody. So, of course, I called them and they're like, you need the CCDP certification. So what did I do? I passed the CCDA certification, the CCDP certification. And so now I'm 6X certified. 3 professional certifications, which employers care about, and 3 associate certifications, which employers don't care about at all. I think now I applied for 5 jobs. And what do you think I got? Rejected, 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 and rejected. So what do you think I did, Con? I decided to start calling some recruiters at the advice of a friend. I called 50 recruiters. I'm not joking, 50 recruiters. And I asked them, and I said, since nobody's hiring me, what do employers want in the perfect network engineer? And they told me exactly, and I built the list. So I called about 50 recruiters, sent about a $100 gift to every one of them. It cost me about $5,000 in the beginning of my career, but I wanted to move to tech. So now, Khan Kenji, with my master list, the perfect thing of knowing exactly what hiring managers wanted. What do you think I did? Went on my first interview to be interviewed as a network engineer and was hired as a senior network engineer because the hiring manager said, Mike, I know you have 0 experience in tech, but you're already better than 2/3 of my team. I'm going to make you a senior engineer. That's how I did it. And since then, Khan Kenji, I've had a system of helping people transition careers. I've been able to make them exactly what the hiring manager wants. And I've asked thousands of hiring managers and recruiters throughout the years, what is your perfect employee for this position? And that's how we base our training. And that's how I got my first job. from internal medicine. I have no degrees in tech, never have. I've got a master's in nursing and a master's in business. But I know architecture. So I learned it. I read 1,000 pages a day, every day, basically for 2 years straight. And that's when I realized that in those 1,000 pages a day that I read, 20 pages were valuable and the other 980 were just garbage filler. So since then, what have I done, Kankenji? I've been coaching people for the last 2 decades by basically removing all the filler and saying, you just need to know this, and making sure that our students are incredible. That's how we do what we do. Hope I answered your question there. Thank you so much, Aswini. Thank you so much. Jay Prell, you got a voucher for an Azure fundamental exam. How can you get hired after the certification? Jay Prell, certifications will not get anybody hired for any position ever. Ever. Certifications merely means you know the name of a service and how to configure that. So Jay Prowley, please tell me the career that you would like, and then I can tell you what you need to learn to get hired. But I don't know what your actual career you like. Could be an engineer, could be a DevOps engineer, could be an architect, could be a big data person, an IM person. So if you tell me what you'd like to do, then I can help you build a get hired plan for your goal career. But certification will not result in anybody getting a job ever unless there's some kind of knowledge that goes along with it. Up and up. Hi, Mike. You've been seeing a lot of people get all these certs, DevOps, machine learning, and applications. Are they really needed when you want to become a cloud architect? No, no, no. So I'm going to say that so firmly, and please do not do these. And here's the reason why, up and up. The brand of a cloud architect is a digital transformation specialist, meaning a business executive that knows how to transform businesses through technology. A DevOps engineer is known as a techie. It builds the brand of a geeky, Coke bottle thick glasses techie. Now, I'm not saying I believe that, but that's the brand. So the second you go from executive to getting a DevOps certification, your ability to get hired as a cloud architect is almost gone. When you start doing all these SysOps and DevOps certifications, you're gone. So up and up, here's what I do. I get a lot of people that came from the bad certification providers that said, you must do the developer associate, SysOps associate, DevOps associate on their way to the certified solution architect professional. And then when people come to me, they're 4x AWS certified or 6x AWS certified, and they know nothing. And then they go on a job interview and they get bombarded. They won't get hired. They won't get hired. Won't get hired. And they're there, and the interviewer wants to interview them from an architect position, but sees all these stupid certs that are unrelated to their career and starts asking them about those certs. And then the interview's over and the employer feels sick. This person knows DevOps, but they don't know anything about architecture, and they don't get hired them. So kind of that, to think about that is the kind of the career that we're talking about, what we're really asking. So I'm going to also tell you this. I've got lots of students that come to me, and they've got a SysOps, a DevOps, a machine learning certification on their portfolio. They've gone on 10 interviews, and nobody will hire them, and I do a review thing, a resume review in class, and I say, will you give me a month? And they say, sure. And I remove the DevOps certification, and I remove the SysOps certification, I remove the machine learning certification. And instead, we talk about what they've done, and the business impact has changed, and they get hired overnight. So generally speaking, we remove those certifications from somebody's resume because who do you want? I want you to think about this. If you were in an airplane right now, and you had a choice of 2 pilots, pilot 1 was from the Marines, maybe the Navy, and they flew a fighter jet for 10 years. Then they worked as an airline captain for an airline for 35 years. You've got a pilot that's done nothing other than fly for 45 years. You're in a plane and 3 of the 4 engines just failed. Or up and up, here's what you can have. You can have somebody that was a doctor until they were 40, were a lawyer until they were 50, and just became a pilot. Now they're an expert in multiple other careers, but now they're the pilot. Who do you want flying your plane with 3 engines that failed? The pilot that's been a pilot their whole life, or somebody that's a jack of all trades and a master of none. That's what happens when people get all these certifications. It drops their salary and makes them look like bozos, and they can't get hired. So that's really the key. We have to build the brand. The brand has to be strong. It has to scream, I am an architect. I know digital transformation. And once we scream the brand of, I know automation engineering and coding, nobody takes you seriously as an architect. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about being good at your job versus somebody else's job. And I'm going to tell you this up and up. I want you to think of two possible situations. Situation one, you spend the next 500 hours learning your job and becoming one of the best at it. Situation two, you fritter your energy around and learn 10 other people's jobs, and you've only spent 50 hours learning your job. Now I'm going to interview you both. 500 hours of your training, 500 hours of nothing all over the place. Who am I going to hire? Who do you want as the doctor? The person that went to medical school and studied it, or someone that was a veterinarian, took care of my cat, and I love my cat, and I love veterinarians. They're very smart people. But who do you want taking care of you? Someone that knows somebody else's job or someone that knows yours? That's the thing. Don't do what you see all these people doing. You know, up and up, there's a reason I earned far more than my competition throughout most of my career. They were all learning all this other stuff, and I only learned one thing, my job and nobody else's. Hope I answered your question there. We actually went through this question already. We need to figure out from JPro what actual job you want, and then we can help you build a plan. Yazid, Mike, you're a telco cloud engineer and you want to become a cloud expert. Please give advice. Yazid, please tell me what kind of thing. You couldn't possibly become a cloud expert if you live 300 years. It's not enough time. Yes, so you need to tell me what kind of an expert would you like to be? Would you like to be a cloud networking expert, like an expert on one thing? Would you like to be a cloud IAM expert? Would you like to be a cloud big data expert? Even then, it takes 10,000 hours in one thing to become an expert, assuming it's a small thing. If it's cloud, it would take you approximately 1,000 years to become an expert on everything because there's too many things and too many careers to learn. So Yazid, please tell me what you'd like to become an expert on. Is it BGP, for example? Because then I can tell you how to do that. Is it cloud security? Then I can tell you how to do that. But I can't tell you how to do it and become an expert until I know what you want to become an expert on. And cloud is too big to be an expert. You're a network security engineer in Western Union. How to start your career in cloud engineering? Well, here's the thing. To start a career in cloud engineering, if you're already a career, make sure you know how to be a cloud engineer, which means you must know the network and the data center. Now, you may actually know some of that stuff as well, which means you need to know BGP, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, for example. WAN-based technologies such as SSL VPNs, IPsec-based tunnels, private lines, serial lines, Ethernet over MPLS, software-defined networking, SASE, those kind of things you need to know. DNS, DHCP, ARP proxy, ARP, NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT. That would be on the tech side that you need to learn. Then you need to understand servers and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, block storage, file storage, object storage. You need to have some good knowledge on load balancers, for example, when to use which kind of load balancer, how to stack them and the type that you should be using and how to set them up and how to optimize them. You should have some good knowledge on firewalls, next generation firewalls, VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems, how to build and set all that stuff up. Same thing for engineering. So same kind of challenge, same kind of thing. Then you need to know Linux and really how to administer Linux for the cloud engineer, almost as much as a Linux engineer would need to know. Now, the cloud engineer needs to know Python to automate things. The cloud engineer needs to know some DevOps type principles, and the cloud engineer also needs to know infrastructure as code in the form of Terraform, for example. Those are the kind of things that you need to know to be able to be a cloud engineer. Note, they're very different than the architect. That's what you would need to learn. Most of it is not covered in cloud training. I can tell you that right now. So there's that. Chris, you can go to the next one. Ranty, you've got a graduate degree in project management like the crowd. Is this the right step I should take? Ranty, what would you like to do? What would you like to do? If you tell us what you would like to do, then we can help build you a plan for it. But I don't know what you want to do. You just said cloud. If you want, so tell me what you'd like to do. Is it good? Anything's good if you like it. Anything's good if you like it. But there's that. So I can't tell you if it's good because I don't know what you like. I think the cloud's a great place, but it's all based. Okay, two things. For someone in the chat box who keeps saying they've got a question that's not being answered, we don't know what your question is. So if you don't ask us the question, we can't.
Mike, I've already addressed it.
Okay. Jay Prell, you want to be an architect on networking. Okay, so I will tell you what you need to do as a network architect. To be a network architect first, you need to become an architect, which means you're going to have to become an executive, which means you need to learn how to sell. You need to learn how to do an ROI model. You need to have something called executive presence. Here's the difference. Today, I'm going to talk about BGP. It's a path vector routing protocol that uses TCP port 179. That's not executive presence. Executive presence is today, we're going to talk about BGP, which is a path vector routing protocol used for interdomain routing. Now, you're also going to have CXO relevancy because you're going to be at the CEO level. So you're going to need to communicate to the CEO versus the CFO versus the CIO. Now, you're going to be designing architectures which are going to cost a fortune. And you're going to have to prove to the customer that spending their money in one place is worth it. That's called opportunity cost in business. And for that, you're going to need to do some ROI modeling. Now, we're going to be doing some program leading. So you're going to need to know some program management. Now, we're going to be, as an architect, network architect, presenting at conferences constantly. So because of that, you're going to need some executive communication skills in conferences. You're also going to be writing white papers and thought leadership documents as an architect. So you're going to need some special writing training. Now, most of what we do is present and sell, so you're going to have to get used to that. Now, on the tech side, if you want to do networking, you're going to have to become an expert on BGP, which is not covered in any of these certifications, OSPF, and intermediate systems to intermediate systems. Now, you're really going to have to become an expert on WAN technologies, MPLS-based VPNs, for example, and RSVP signaling, software-defined networking, SASE, Ethernet over MPLS, BGP, RFC 2547 VPNs, for example, SSL-based VPNs, IPsec-based VPNs. Now, in our world, we do a lot of IP addressing, so you're going to need to become an expert on IP subnet design, supernetting, route aggregation, for example. Realistically speaking, you really need to become an expert into queuing and QoS, for example, and this is on the networking side. And that's just some of these things. Then after this, you're still going to have to learn the infrastructure, which means you need to know servers and server virtualization and containers and container orchestration and firewalls, and when to use the next generation firewall versus when you use a VPN concentrator, when are you using your IDS, IPS systems, and how to design, present it, and sell it. So those are the things that are there. And we're talking more like CCIE level of knowledge and then some for this job, plus the business acumen, than anything that would be covered in, say, the Azure Solution Architect Expert. It's too basic for these cloud networking things. We need a lot of networking knowledge. Great question, by the way. What should be the focus of cloud security? Well, what do you want to do? Defensive security or offensive security? There's two kinds of security. Offensive security is as follows. You're the person that becomes an expert on breaking into organizations, and you learn how to hack. Now, that's generally a cloud security engineer's job, a penetration tester's job. They become experts on Kali Linux. They become experts on social engineering. They become experts at phishing, and they can become experts at hacking tools. They become experts at operating system vulnerabilities and breaking through things and how to hack. That's what they do. Now, the cloud defensive security people are designing the systems to protect them. I'm assuming you're talking about the architecture. So they're the people that are designing the firewall policies, what kind of firewalls to use, when to use them, where to put them, what kind of IPS systems are you going to try and use, what's your encryption strategy look like, what's your identity and access management strategy look like, what's your training thing, what's your security policy, what kind of incident response procedures are you going to develop, what's the mandate, what's going to be the way you lock down your normal systems, what kind of patching schedule you're doing, anti-malware protection, host-based IDS IPS system, what kind of event-driven security are you going to use? There's that. It all depends on where you're at. So security is about keeping bad guys and girls out and protecting the stuff on the inside. And realistically speaking, a lot of business goes into security. So let's say you've got 2 websites. My cat Cindy's got a website where she just makes pictures of her cat calendars. And by comparison, a website for the world's largest bank. What's the bank need that my cat Cindy doesn't need? So it's about adapting the security to make sure that what we can do is give the customers everything that they need. Chris, we can go to the next question. It's a very good question.
All right, so the next one is the one that for some reason was getting filtered out by YouTube.
Okay.
So it worked when I posted it. I don't know what I don't know what was happening. But this one's from Jadon.
Hey, Mike, soft skills, emotional intelligence question. You mentioned previously sometimes we'll be end up creating an architecture that will eliminate jobs. That's reality. How do you handle that? Well, never feels good. So what do I do when I deal with these architectures? And I know what's going on. Typically, I try to cross-train the teams that are actually there so I can find a way to still keep their jobs. But then again, I love training people, so I do that. But that's just me. But the reality is, if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. And if I do it, I can do it in a much better, more humane way than others. And when I do it, I try to cross-train people. Here, I know you're working with me on this architecture. I know why you're concerned about the architecture. I can't even say that you're wrong. It may affect certain people's jobs, but work with me. I will let your CEO know and your CIO know that you were part of the solution, that you were one of the people that helped me build in something more. Oh, by the way, I will also tell them that I'm training you to be utilizing the new systems and that you're very capable, and they don't need to hire somebody new. They can use you to tutor others. So I try to do that along the way. I always try to leave the customer better than when I found it. But the reality is somebody's going to do it. And the better you are at doing it, the better you are at solving business problems, the less people are going to get laid off. So I take real pride in asking the right questions. I take real pride in doing everything I can to make the business more profitable, because if I can do that, they won't be laying off. But that's me. So for me, it's pretty critical to go doing everything you can to try and make it as good as possible. But if somebody says, look, we're going to lay off 10%, maybe you can increase the revenues and you only have to lay off 6% or 7%. But it's going to happen either way. The only question is, can you influence it in the right direction? And can you make the customer and the employers more successful after the fact? And that's just reality. So I work really hard to make sure my customers and their people are very successful. To me, that's kind of everything. That's one. So from your discussion, you believe that determinants, perseverance, emotional intelligence, and cloud knowledge is enough? No, I believe that soft skills, executive presence, communication skills, leadership skills, business acumen, CXO relevancy, sales skills, presentation skills, emotional intelligence, leadership skills, and negotiation skills, combined with network and data center knowledge and system design knowledge and cloud design knowledge and industrial application knowledge, you can be hired as a cloud architect. And I do it every single day. Every single day. You can see it on our channel. What services should you know to be a security architect? Well, it's not going to be things like DOM and rapid syndrome. So if you want to be a security architect, you need to know the following. And it's not services. We don't get involved in services. We get involved in system design. So first, it's sales skills, business acumen, leadership, emotional intelligence, communication skills, ROI modeling, executive presence, etc. Those things. Now, next, we design. Now, what kind of systems do we design? Well, we design security policies. We design personnel training. We determine what kind of firewall architecture we're going to be using, what kind of next generation firewalls, the non-cloud-based stuff. What kind of load balancers do we need to load balance between our virtual firewalls? Do we use some IDS, IPS systems, or we rely on what's inside the next generation firewalls? Are we using signature-based IDS, IPS systems or behavior-based IDS, IPS systems? How are we dealing with our remote access users? What do our demilitarized zones need to be designed like? What gets enabled in the demilitarized zone? How do we train? What kind of incident response procedure should we be doing, for example? How do you build the security team? What kind of training and education do you need to do for your users, specifically around anti-malware and specifically around anti-phishing, anti-social engineering? That's what architects do. We design, present, and sell, so that's what you're going to be designing. You won't be using Dome 9 or Rapid7 services. We are designers. So your whole world will be determining what kind of assets need to be protected, the value of those assets, the risk of those assets being hacked, and developing a mitigation strategy to make it better. That's what we do as architects, security architects. So we don't get involved in these services. You'll be talking to Cisco constantly, Fortinet constantly, Checkpoint constantly, Palo Alto Networks constantly. You might even talk to load balancer companies like F5 because you're going to be interacting with them, and they have some security systems too. You might be thinking about logging and event-driven security. You might be getting creative and start thinking, wow, I get all these logs coming in from my firewalls, my IDS, IPS systems, CloudWatch, etc. VPC flow logs are the equivalent of that. Can I then take them in, stream them into like Apache Kafka, and then can I use that and run some data visualization tools like Tabula to see what's going on in our system? Those are the kind of things that we design. So what kind of services do you know? You need to understand security, how to design it, how to build it, and how to sell it. That's what you do as a security architect. Okay, so let me remind you of a few things. Right now and until Sunday, we're running a special sale with 30% off. Use coupon code potential. And whether you're trying to get promoted with our Tech Career Accelerator program, trying to get your first cloud architect job with our Cloud Architect Career Development program, trying to get your first cloud engineer job with your first cloud engineer career development program, or trying to master the interview with our Tech Interview Mastery program, everything is 30% off because I want you to reach your maximum potential. The coupon code is potential. We have the Azure Solution Architect Expert Bootcamp this afternoon starting at noon. Please join us. Completely free. You can go back and watch the last 3 days. And finally, register for the free subnetting and the free BGP workshop. The link is in the chat box and the description below. And please sign up for next Thursday's How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. The link is in the description below, and we'd love to help you get cloud hired. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you in another session.